Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to FM23 Youth Factory. This is episode 38. Just as I started super low, and as we've seen players progress this season as we've turned professional, the same is true for me as manager. I've made a lot of progression. I've seen my attributes jump more this season than all of the prior seasons combined. Now, determination even is plus a couple from where it was. It was at a 13. It was the only decent attribute that I had. If you remember, mostly we had nothing but ones. I intentionally put us at literal bare minimum, if you remember back to the beginning of the series. But now, player knowledge up to a 7, people management up to a 7, and motivating up to a 9. So slowly but surely, we are becoming acceptable in the role. Meanwhile, the coaching attributes also where working with youngsters, I think, was maybe a 4 when I started, and fitness was a 2 or a 3. And then in the first couple months on the job, it dropped to 1, amazingly, as we were amateur and stretched super thin, coaching literally everything at the club by ourselves, and poof, we were just 1s across the board. Other than that, working with youngsters, that stayed the same. It's now up to a 7. Mental is up to a 7. Technical, tactical, attacking, and defending have all jumped to 5s. So I am finally progressing. And this is without badges. The badges have not improved at all. I'm still on a National C license. The same thing. It's the same thing that we started with from day one, because the club is terrified of losing me to someone else if I get a badge, which is strange. It's a rather strange one, that they lack ambition, but I've gotten the same response literally every time. I've asked at least once every single season and gone through the, oh, hell no, you're not getting a badge. Which is, it's just strange to me, that one. I mean, I get that the board's going to be resistant to a lot of things, but the whole, like, you can't better yourself, you can't get training to be good in your role. So, we have 5 to play in the league, a lot on the line. Now, I've already qualified for the playoffs. That part's great, and we could end up going through via the playoffs. Right now, I've got my eyes set on something a little bit bigger. The gap seemed unreachable just a handful of games ago, but Real Bedford have slipped up a little bit lately, and suddenly we're only 5 points adrift. We have won something like 12 or 13 straight. We now have quality and depth through the squad. Most of the team are in the 80s. We've got a couple guys that are 90 or better, including Lanahan Penreese, who's now a 100 current ability, where Real Bedford had like 5 guys in the 80s at the start of the season, and they were the team of the season. But suddenly we've matched and exceeded that. So are we better than them? They kicked our butts the first time we played them. Oh, and in these last 5 games, we're going to get them again. We are going to get them again. So if you turn around and win that one, gap's suddenly down to 2 points, as long as we take care of business in other games. Easier said than done, though, because not only do we have Real Bedford in the Final 5, we have Truro City, the 3rd place team, in the Final 5. We also have Salisbury in the Final 5. So we have 3 teams in the top 6 coming up in these Final 5 matches. We also lead the league by some margin, doubling up literally everybody else on the injury table. And if that weren't enough, we also have a number of players on international duty right now. Big absences, big test with that Salisbury match coming up on the road. Also, only 2 of our Final 5 matches are going to be at home. So between the injuries, between the players away, between the travel, and we're supposed to move into our expanded stadium here in a couple of weeks, but we're only going to get a single game, the final home match of the season, in the new stadium, or upgraded stadium. So we're not going to benefit from that unless it's during the playoffs. And that's what we're trying to avoid now. Can we snatch that title? Let's get to it. Let's start with Salisbury. And a gutted squad. Can they still pull away with a victory against one of the better teams in the league? Salisbury lining up in a 4-4-2 today, and us with some wholesale changes to the lineup as we're on the road. We're on a heck of a win streak, though. Can we keep it up? Our attacking prowess is unchanged today. Our 4 players on top are the same 4, the ever-present force. So we should be capable of scoring goals. 1 or 3 of the pieces that feed them the ball, though. Really? We get called for a foul in the first seconds on a nothing. Okay, sure. A few of the pieces are missing, and we're trailing 1-0 already. Berchielli would have been missing as well. He just came back from international duty today. This is easily onside. Berchielli comes out aggressively to sweep. And Benjani, Benjani. Great first touch. Looks like he kind of knees that ball up and over or around Berchielli, and we got beat. My concern today was not scoring goals. It was giving them up. We have our pieces in place in the attack. Sumahoro. And here's our first chance of the day, and Davis makes a big save. I don't know why in UK English, British English, that Davies is Davis and not Davies. In the US, that's definitely Davies. But anyway, Duncan on a yellow. That's a young rookie. So we have 4 key back-end pieces that are all wholesale changes today, including debuts for a couple rookies and 1 on the bench. Guys that just came through the intake in 2 cases, and 1 who was in the U18s from a previous intake. Oh, bad giveaway there, and that's the concerning portion of the pitch for us. Bad giveaway. Sumahoro. Oh, wow. Oh, I thought he was going to get there first. I think Penreese was onside. Just about there. Evans. Taken down in the box. It's going to be a penalty. Chance to equalize here. Yes. Okay. Gosh, I hate penalties, but right now I love that one. We are so desperate to get things rolling, and Penreese puts that in the back of the net, and it's 1-1. So far, the game has been pretty balanced. Our giveaways have been the concern. Our defense has been the concern. So Webb and Hassel are the only regulars in that entire back end. Berchielli just came back from that international duty yesterday. There's Gordon. Sumahoro's offside. Keeper takes that off the chest, pushes it into the post anyway. Would not have scored. It looked like he was going to pounce on that first. 4-4 on the shots. XG just about favoring us, but that's largely from the penalty. Possession only slightly favoring us. We're definitely used to having more. If we're going to come away with a result here in the second half, it's going to require a little more than we were able to put into the first half on this one. Calver, straight out of the intake, straight into the lineup at left back. Evans, into the lineup in place of Redknapp, who has not quite recovered from his injury. Kitching is a great replacement. He is absolutely our 12th man. He is capable of starting ahead of Webb or Hassel or either of our defensive mids. He's developed rapidly this season to really, really gain on those guys, but his versatility is kind of what's costing him right now. It's kind of what's keeping him on the bench, is that he's the guy who can plug and play and ends up playing almost every game anyway, even though he's not really named to the first 11. Duncan is the other one who is from the U18s, who isn't from this intake. I don't know which one he's from, last year or the year before. Has progressed some, isn't great. He's in the 50s. He's okay, and is the one sitting on a yellow card right now. And then we also have another straight out of the intake backup who is on the bench today. And we get second half underway with 9 players fired up in a 1-1 game. That's always a good thing if you can get that many on the go, especially with weak manager attributes. As you've seen, they are getting better. But a 9 is not exactly top of the line motivating for your team. Duncan finds Gordon. Kitching. Now through for Gordon. Gordon into the box. Takes it himself. Hits it off the crossbar. It's cleared out for Sumihoro. Probably could have pounced on that, but he was a little slow to react. Defense reacts first. Gets the corner kick. But I thought maybe we could have been passing to Sumihoro under those conditions for a tap-in goal. It would have had to be a perfect pass. We would have had to thread the needle on that one. Real Bedford up 2-1 on Taunton Town. Truro City up 1-0 on Chalfont St. Peter. So both of them looking to get maximum points, which means we have got to stay aggressive. We've got to keep after it, and we're already at 70 minutes played. Sumihoro struggling. Maybe it's time to switch him and Gordon and try that experiment for a second time, as it seems like on balance it might actually even work better. Ryan Gordon is getting pretty tired, but he's having a good game. Can we feed him the ball? I think right now we're struggling to get from the build-up phase into that final third phase. We've got the quality players up here, but our creative force lacking here. Our creative force lacking on both wings. And so with those 3 weaknesses, that ball that initiates that forward progression, we're having trouble finding those. And, Calver's struggling 6.2. Evans is struggling 6.5. Berchielli's having a terrible day because of his mistake that cost us the 1 goal. Sumihoro's struggling, of course, on top, but that's because he's not getting distribution. So maybe this will help. No sub yet. So Wilkinson coming on. His ratings aren't great, but his performances always tend to be. Fresh legs also for this stage. Shuffling the top could make a difference also. Hassel, long ball over the top. Penn Reese! Think he was outside. Thornhill, oh, it's blocked. Wow, great play from the defense to stop that chance from close range. Now the sub comes on. That's cleared away. Kitching lays it off deep. 7-5. They've only had 1 shot in the second half. That's a good sign for us, but this is bad sign as Benjani gets behind the defense once again. But this time, Berchielli improves his rating by stepping up and making a big save on that occasion. But worryingly, we are set to drop 2 points here under our injury and suspension fiasco. We have 5 guys unavailable. Oh, that one's deflected. That was looking like a great opportunity to the far post. I want to go more aggressive, but I also know that our defense is worrying. I don't trust our defense today to make the stops by pushing more guys forward. And so we end up having to settle for 1 point. We were just about the favorite. We certainly looked like the team more likely to get a second goal, that's for sure, in the second half. I mean, they had one little moment, and we had 1 decent save. That was it. Otherwise, the second half was a nothing performance from Salisbury hanging on. But for us, did probably enough to get a second goal. Should have been able to get 2 goals from this group. Would have been expected. But with those key pieces behind them just not feeding the ball effectively, I think that's what hurt our chances today. But the amount of XG that we put together, the amount of performance we put together, we should have been able to come away with a 2-1 victory. That one hurts as we dropped a couple points and our nearest challengers all managed to get victories. So the gap opens to 7. Next up for us is Real Bedford. We're going to get those last couple guys back from international duty. We're going to have a couple more guys healthy. We took no injuries this time. Let's hope we take no injuries this week in practice. And we need to be a little more fit than we are right now. We're also going to get a player back from suspension, so our options are going to be a little bit better. We have to win that Real Bedford match to have any chance at the title here, especially with 4 to play. We'll be just 4 points behind. That's worrying to try to cover that with what will then be 3 to play. Not an easy way, not an easy challenge. If we had those 2 more points right now, we'd only be 2 behind them if we get that win. And that seemed doable. I don't think they're going to drop enough points to give us a real shot at this. So we might be heading to second place. This has to be our biggest match of the season. Tyler Walker, in particular, is way above the level of this league and has dominated. He's easy choice for player of the season. And we're 7 points behind them now, further than before. But we're at home. They beat us pretty soundly the last time we played them, but that was towards the beginning of the season, where we clearly had not built up to the level that we're at now, the quality that we have now. But the quality that we have now isn't all necessarily here. Sumahoro! Oh, straight at the keeper. Tried to go over the top of his head towards the far post. Big missed opportunity on that one. Penrys, Calver, Thornhill. So, number of changes to the squad. Yet again, not much has changed from the match a week ago, as Truro City also playing today. Taunton Town, everybody else has already played. It's a Sunday match. Everybody else played their fixture on Saturday. So big opportunity was to pay attention to that one. But multiple scores, big giveaway from close range. But luckily we get a foot in and deflect it out wide. They're going to get another chance at this. Long ball. Okay, good. Berchielli easily grabs that one. Okay, so we have Berchielli, so that's good. Redknapp is back into the squad. He's only cleared to play up to 75 minutes, though, so we might not get him for the... Well, we're not going to get him for the entirety of the match. Depending on how things are going, we'll take him out between 1 hour and 75 minutes. Today is the most important day of the season. We'll get what we can out of him. Great ball there for Penrys. Takes it to the corner, lays it off for Calver. Calver finds Thornhill. Thornhill not in his attacking mid position today. Duncan did not do particularly well. He struggled a bit. He's on the bench. I'm ready to make that sub if necessary as Arthur tries to head this one away. But instead of Duncan, I've opted for Arthur, essentially, as the choice between those two. So Arthur in at that attacking mid, Thornhill in that defensive mid role, so we have a little more creation coming out of there, and two creative players as opposed to Duncan, who's just not really giving us much of anything. See if that works out. Otherwise, at some point, we will sub out Arthur, bring on Duncan, and push Thornhill up. I expect Thornhill to play all 90 in one of those two positions. Really disappointed that we're even forced into that situation still, because Mortland with the broken ankle is still injured, but his partner has been out on yellow card accumulation suspension, which apparently has accumulated to the stage where it's not just a one-game suspension. He's now accumulated enough yellow cards over this season to have a two-game suspension. So he's out still today. He'll be back for the next match. He gets a lot of yellows. He really does get a lot of yellows. So I don't know exactly what his quantity is up to be at that stage, but it's not good. Calver's still in at left back, as we're still about a week away from recovery on injury for that. So similar squad to what we had last time, really the only change being the Thornhill-Arthur combo. And so we've hit halftime. We started decently. They kind of took control of the match from there. Really only one decent chance, though, for them. Only 2 shots on target, slightly more XG. We've got a lot more possession, but we haven't been able to translate that into chances for us. Walker on a yellow, Leda on a yellow. We have nobody on a yellow. That's good heading into the second half here. Must win if we're going to have a chance at the title. If we draw, if we lose, then we're definitely headed for the playoffs. It might be goalless, but the entire team is fired up for the second half to come. Let's see what we can do here. Thornhill over the top for Penrys. That's what we were missing last game. Penrys, though, couldn't quite make up his mind. Defense good enough to recover the ball, and that's a big difference between this and other teams. Is you got plenty of players that are good enough. Penrys switches to Gordon. Gordon, Redknapp on the overlap. This is one thing we've been missing. He's going to take it himself, though. He had 2-3 runners in the box ready to come through. He didn't flash it across goal. He took it himself. Blew the opportunity. Oh, crap. That was very much out of nowhere. We had the player covered well there on the wing, Parkinson. We'd picked him up. Walker was marked well. Two guys in there. Slow reaction from Hassel. Really slow. Hassel should have gotten there, headed that away before it got into Walker, and did not. Season now on the brink. I think the Thornhill situation has helped. Arthur's not doing great, but I think we kind of have to keep things as they are for now, though I suppose I could try to push Thornhill up a bit further to change the balance. Penreese finds Arthur. He was onside. That was a great opportunity, and we miss it. Lida. This time we get in there and head it away, and it was Calver even who managed to do that. That's out for a goal kick. Very attacking. Increase that tempo. Want to pass into space a bit more. I don't know. They have some quality, but let's go ahead and pass into space. We want to push even higher. High press. Trigger that more often. We have no yellows, so we'll get stuck in, and we want to counter. And go fast. Subs will not help us, but we're also at the point that Redknapp, we don't have a choice. We've got to get him off. So that's Evans coming on. I do have fresh legs in Wilkinson that we could bring on. We could do the Sumahoro change again with that one. Let's do these together. Good defense there. Okay, I think it's time to change the formation a little bit. Again, we have got to get something. And we're not amounting to much. There's a big opportunity, and Gordon equalizes. No flag, no flag, no flag. Gordon on top. And it is 1-1. It is 1-1. I'm still thinking that we might want to make this change anyway. Iffy on whether we were onside there, but... They win that header from close range, but fortunately put it wide. 1-1 is the right result today. It is. This has draw written all over it. I think if we were fully healthy, we could come away with a win. As we have too much quality absent, it puts the two teams on a level pegging. We have progressed beyond them. Now, I don't know where they're at this point in the season, but let's make this... Well, you know what? They're professional as well. They are professional as well, but let's assume that their training facilities are not as good. We know that they're not. They're not bad. We know that their staff is probably not as good. We've seen that our staff, our coaching staff, anyway, is the best in the league. So, I'm sure they've progressed. I'm sure their 5 guys in the 80s is probably something a little bit better than that. That they've probably got some guys that are into the 90s. They've probably got more than 5 guys in the 80s now. They'll have seen progression within their squad. Not to the same extent of us. So at the very least, I think we, on paper, are probably a better team than they are at this stage in the season. They have no injuries. They have their entire first 11 available to them, and they played them as that same top squad. So all of those best players were out there on the pitch. We were missing way too many pieces. The injury bug has taken away our chance to win the league this season. We're not going to win the league. Drawing with Real Bedford. Now there's 3 matches to play, and we're still, 7 points behind? We remain 7 points behind with 3 to play. They're not going to lose all 3 matches to wrap up the season. It's just not going to happen. Mathematically, it's not over. But it's over. Now, we are still comfortable in second place, so it looks like we're going to be heading for the playoffs, one would think. Truro ended up drawing, so with 3 to play, we have a 6-point advantage over them. We've already qualified for the playoffs. We have a easy match coming. We do still have a match against Truro, so as long as we don't lose that match, we should come out, or enter the playoffs in second place. We're down to 2 to go, and Truro City up next, but the match no longer matters. First off, our away match that we just had at Taunton Town, who are mid-table, was a wild one. We had about 4 goals worth of XG. We managed to get 6. They had less than half of a goal worth of XG and somehow scored 4. Absolutely insane performance, really. Both teams punching well above what was deserved, but it should have finished 4-0 and been a bit more comfortable than it was. But Truro City lost their match. And so now here we are heading into the final two, and Real Bedford have claimed the championship. They're 7 points ahead, 2 to play, 6 points in it. We can't catch them any longer. They have us beat on goal differential. They beat us, and then we came back and only were able to draw at home. They're deserved champions. Truro City, we've now distanced them enough where we have guaranteed second place and our playoff position. Truro City has guaranteed their playoff position, and it's looking pretty clear which teams we're going to be up against. But what is the order? Well, that's going to be decided in the final two. Us beating Truro City could bump them down to fifth. Not necessarily where I want them to be. I'd love to see them drop to fourth and have a chance to get beat from one of these weaker teams. But realistically, all three teams are very similar in terms of their performance this season. Maidenhead a little bit better at not getting beat than, like, say, Taunton. Taunton, that's a team that knows how to either win or lose and nothing else. That's probably a good thing for us. Teams that more likely to draw and then occasionally win, I think is a better situation for us. But, look at those records. We know how to not lose. We're best at that in the league. We've only lost 4 times. All on the road. Taunton is one of the teams that has beaten us. So maybe a Maidenhead matchup is what we can hope for the best. Weston Supermare, not out of it yet, but just about. Heading into the Truro City match, we are on the road. I'm not going to play this one out. It no longer is relevant other than for them and their position potentially in the playoffs. Our position is secure. We're going to be the top team entering the playoffs. We're going to have the home field advantage. But are we high enough that we're talking Wembley for a final? I don't know if we are. It might start one tier further above where we're at right now on those Wembley finals. Well, anyway, Calver's going to get the start. Kitching's going to get the start at defensive mid, but otherwise we are finally getting into just about a first 11 squad. Redknapp's fully healthy finally. Mortland available to play 45 finally on the bench. McFadden, same, available for 45. So they'll both be on the bench today. They'll both likely come in for Calver and maybe Kitching at some point, or Atkins. Atkins finally back from his suspension. So, we finally have a quality squad available to us. We're going to go for the instant result. Let's see what happens with this one. Truro City has claimed the win. That's going to keep them in third place, almost certainly now. We don't come away with this one. We outpossessed. Chances were about the same, but Truro City gets the victory. So, with that, we're 10 points behind Real Bedford. Realistically, even if we were healthy, I think we probably weren't going to be taking the title this season away from Real Bedford. They've been too good. We, on the other hand, I think we're right where times have I said all along that I figured we could probably get up to second place eventually, but Real Bedford's going to be too far ahead, and that's about as far as we can get. And that's exactly what has happened. Truro City, though, well, that's a team that we're going to have our hands full with in a supposed final. Taunton has jumped Maidenhead, which is what I want to see right now. This is the perfect matchup with one match to go. Speaking of one match to go, our final home game of the season and our first one since Real Bedford and our first one since our stadium expansion has been completed. We are finally going to be back home for the first and only time of the year, or at least regular season-wise, in our final match. So we're going to catch at least part of that one. Let's see the new stadium. Let's see what 500 more seats looks like. Final match of the season in the stadium. Where's those extra seats? It looks like really the stand to the left here seems to be a bit bigger than before. Otherwise, everything else looking the same. So I think that's where we've made the big changes. Second place is secure, but as we have playoffs looming, I rested a few of our more veteran players for those playoffs to ensure that they don't get injured today. But also we have guys coming back from injury that needed to build their form, so they're in the squad. we're giving youth a chance. Thornhill, oh wow, nice. Post to post and gets it just across the line. Thornhill gets the opener in the first minute. Coming from his new attacking mid position that he learned partway into the season, it's Adekunle who has picked up the assist and really set that one up. Adekunle getting his first start. This, of course, by now I'm sure you know, Adekunle is from last season's intake, and he will be Ryan Gordon's replacement in the coming season. So he's getting his first start. He's been on the U18s. There's a big through ball. Little 1-2, Thornhill, Penreese. Penreese comes close. Keeper gets stopped, though, out for a corner, nearly making it 2 early on. Love to see the youth come on strong already in this one. Thornhill's so close, and Davidson's going to tap it in. He is onside, flag stays down, and there is the rookie from this year's intake, who's going to be very capable. So we had 3 guys in the intake that had immense quality already, capable of contributing to the first team squad. Davidson, one of those 2. The other one is a backup goalkeeper for us, a definite upgrade. He is our number 2 behind Berchielli at this stage in terms of quality, but we want him to continue to get experience, unlike Grigg, who just sits and rots on the bench and doesn't improve. So if Berchielli were to get sold, he would become the starter. If Berchielli were to be injured, we would want him to be the starter for that stretch of time. For now, we want him to grow, catch Berchielli, and maybe take the starting job away from him at some point. We lead 2-0 in this one. Also starting today, Duncan getting a second chance at that defensive mid, as he is really our 3rd guy now, because Thornhill, fourth guy, because Thornhill has now moved into that attacking mid. Duncan getting a chance to grow a little bit in this one. And the last obvious change taking place at halftime for us, as coming back from injury, Peter McFadden cleared for 45. We gave him 45. Fortunately, no injuries for him, so that will help him rebuild that fitness and get him ready to play more minutes in the all-important... Redknapp misses that chance, leads to an opportunity for them. 2 guys recovering, diving in, getting the block, putting that out for a corner kick. They've done nothing all match, but that was a big opportunity. Redknapp stepping up this time, though, clears that one away. And in place of McFadden for the second half is Calver, who is straight out of that intake and has now gotten, 4 appearances already with the first team squad, mostly out of necessity, because both McFadden, the starter, the backup fullback, who was last year's intake player, who came in and has stepped up this year with the long-term injury for him. He'll be back soon. He might be available in the playoffs. Otherwise, Adekunle makes it 3. Otherwise, Calver is going to continue to be relied upon through the playoffs. Hopefully in a less and less important way, and just more being available and maybe some last-minute subs. Adekunle would have been offside for Davidson, so good thing Adekunle kept that himself. Goes near post. Keeper thought he had it covered, but not quite. We squeeze it past him. Not a full crowd, by the way, so interesting to see over the course of this season. Of course, we have been in that scenario where we've been on the road and getting smaller crowds as a result. Will whatever thought process went behind on why we had the decrease in crowds this season, even though we were in a larger stadium, whether it was travel or whether it was the lack of being an all-seater and very few actual seats, standing room only for the most part, whichever combination of those 2 factors, or thirdly, last game of the regular season, nothing on the line, playoffs already accounted for, whatever combination of factors led to what looked like a small crowd compared to what we're used to in our home stadium. But we're back home, and we finished the season strong with an excellent victory there, getting to 91 points for the season. That's a good result. But what is that final tally for the other 3 teams? That's going to be what's important for us right now. In the end, we finished 7 points behind Real Bedford. The win would have only brought us that little bit closer Had we been healthy for another result, I still think we end up losing that championship by a point. So even if we got the win against Truro, even if we get the win against Real Bedford, of which we only took 1 point from a possible 6, so that's 5 more points that we would have had, we would have been on 96. Real Bedford would have dropped dropped 1 more point. Yeah, they would have been at 97. They would have had 97, we would have had 96. In the end, I think it makes no difference. Makes no difference. So we would have been second anyway. Truro City does lock up third. For me, that's good. But unfortunately, Maidenhead has jumped Taunton. I think I would have been more favorable for a Maidenhead matchup for us than a Taunton matchup. So we're headed to the playoffs with a team that we should be beating Taunton in the semifinals with a home and away 2-legged tie, and then we should have a 1-game final, neutral territory, or is it? We haven't been to the playoffs in non-league. Of course, we know that the National League, North and South, that even their playoffs take place at Wembley. I don't know about ours. I'll have to check on the rules. We'll find out next time, though. That's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.